This is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. It's a Friday edition. Everybody made it. It is a Friday, and it is PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Coming to you live from the International Diamond Center studios. We'll have JC here momentarily. We'll have Frank Frange, the voice of the Jaguars. Tell us, I guess they have a coach now. Hell, I can't keep up with the Jags. We got the NFC and the AFC Championship game. JC and I will pick it. Let's go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Bumper Temp, and we are joined by Corn Dog.
You have an all-star lineup this week. You know, you got me 3 days a week. Then you got Mike Morgan. Yesterday, I could listen to you guys talk all day long. I really could. I enjoy that segment you have with him. You should have it more. And then I love Frank. Frank is he is a professional's pro. He really is one of the best. Known him for many years. QB, I just want you to know that the purified amniotic stem cell injection I got is working beautifully. As you can see, my hand is fully operational. And once I get this thumb and all the arthritis that is in this thumb treated, then I can come play golf with you more, QB, because then I'll be able to compete, because without this hand, you can't play golf. You need that right hand. And the diagnosis was overusage. And then when I saw the ultrasound of the arthritis up and down his thumb, it looked like an 85-year-old man. So I'm getting treatment done. I am a pincushion for future science in the medical field.
Obviously, you're getting it all done.
But listen, we had to. So spoiler alert, right quick.
Well, it doesn't matter, JC. Andy's already posted.
But people listen sometimes and don't look at the posts. If you don't want to know what happened with Ben Shelton, turn down the volume for 5 seconds. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He never had a chance. and this guy is so good right now, center, that and with Djokovic default or retiring, he's just getting up there in age. I think Zverev and Sinner, the two Germans and Austrians, will do tremendous things.
The way you said that, though, goes, he never had a chance.
Now, listen, that first set was close. It went to tiebreaker, but oh well. Listen, what is he? QB, what is he, 22, 3 something?
Yeah, he left college early, right?
And he has got such an unbelievable future. And what he said about the media was tremendous when he basically told them to lighten up on some of these players and to quit asking these horrible questions. He mentioned one question that the media asked him about this fellow named Monfils, who is an older Frenchman, and whether or not he was Ben's real dad. You know, just horrible questions that have no place. Yeah, well, they were making fun of him. And he retired when he played Shelton, so they were making fun, like, were you playing your dad today? You know, it's just bullshit like that we don't need in the media, and it's no wonder that athletes really get tired of the nonsense.
Media guys like you?
No, I'm a great media guy. I was one of the most popular media guys you ever had, QB.
Because of your mustache and your
everybody on Tuesday, when all the football players came down to the South End Zone, including you and David Lamb and I were the two most popular reporters out there. I was the local guy, according to Coach. And Lamb Chops was right next to me. And Lamb Chops and I, David Lamb, the immortal one, he and I always got along. And those were the two guys that had the microphones blazing hot on Tuesday mornings when we got our sound from the Gator football team that beat everybody's tails in during the 90s. And it was a great time for Gator football. It was a great time. And it's going to get better here in the future. I really think so. So just be confident and be optimistic and get excited right now about the spring sports that are coming, and get excited about this basketball team that's going to mop the floor with the Georgia Bulldogs, who cannot win on the road in the SEC. That's coming.
Yep. Wes on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, asks, about what's the best thing to eat at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Ooh.
The best thing I've ever had there is the tomahawk pork chop.
Yes, you love that. You ate
It
that.
is. I could have eaten I mean, they're enormous, but I could have eaten 3 or 4 of them easily.
I will say I like their fish selections, but I do
don't
like
fish.
You're not a fish guy, but their fish selections are good. And the center cut fillet, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That's low fat. I mean, I know everybody has it, but how it's cooked it will determine how it's prepared is what separates restaurants. And I think they do a great job. Freddie, and by the way, great job again. I have to say the TV upstairs advisors in the bar on the wall was the best thing he's done in 15 years over there.
Jesse, what made you wake up today and put all your Gator gear on?
I'm just fired up about the Georgia Bulldogs coming in tomorrow to get an ass kicking. You know, you know how I feel about the University of Georgia. I think it's a great school. I don't care for their athletics, and I hate their football team. So, and I don't know why, because my school always beats their ass. And Florida had a great run against Georgia in the 90s. And I think it's been great, but I've seen both sides of it. I've seen Georgia dominate Florida in the 70s and 80s. I lived through it. I grew up with it. My dad lived it through it, hated it. And then, of course, I saw the turnaround in the 90s. And then since then, it's kind of gone, you know, small streaks back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little NFL. We'll talk more about Frank Frange. I'm assuming Liam Cohen is the new head coach of the Jaguars. That whole deal is weird because
it is weird.
I haven't been following it, JC. I don't know if you have, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They wanted Ben Johnson. They did not get Ben Johnson. Supposedly Ben Johnson did want to deal with Trent Baalke.
Correct.
Liam Cohen comes in. He turns him down because of Trent Baalke, I guess, or he wanted his own people. And next thing you know, Shad Khan fires Trent Baalke. So now he has to go back. Is that kind of what happened?
That's exactly what I think happened. And Trent Baalke has had some issues, you know, with certain people in this league. He's been around, you know, he was in San Francisco. And the thing is that this coach has to determine on game day, what's the best chance do I have to win? The guy who brings me the players for the coach to coach, or the coach who has the players that he thinks are good enough to win football games with. And, you know, that's really about in the NFL, QB, you know this as well as anybody. The coaches are only allowed to deal with what they've been given by the management team, right? I mean, many times coaches have a lot of input with that, but the general manager assembles the rosters, and all the coaches do is work with who they have. They don't have a choice sometimes with who's going to be coming in because of business and contracts and so forth. And, you know, Mike McCarthy, I always thought, one, because of who he had playing at quarterback, but he also had a pretty good defense there, too, at Green Bay. But in Dallas, it didn't quite work out because of maybe who he had at quarterback and the way they played defense there in Dallas. So does that make Mike McCarthy a good coach, or does it make him a poor coach? And I think the answer is somewhere maybe in the middle. But I do think that players have everything to do with whether or not these coaches succeed in a lot of times in the NFL. And I think Shad Khan has made a decision that, you know what, I've got a good guy that knows offense, get the ball in the end zone, can help my quarterback, but he's got to have a supporting cast. And I think basically a lot of folks are down on this guy Baalke, and so they got to do a lot of reorganization in Jacksonville. Yeah, I mean, that's just my take. Frank can expand on that, but I think that makes sense with GMs and coaches. Coaches only work with who they are given. That's it.
Yeah, I read something too, and I don't know if it's true or not, but you know, I think, well, part of it was Ben Johnson also saw the skill guys he had to deal with at the Chicago Bears. When you look at their offensive firepower, they got dudes, man, and I think they're going to be pretty damn good next year with him calling plays.
That's a great division, QB. Those 4 teams, if the Bears get better, and listen, the Bears were on the right track until that Hail Mary in Washington. And I do think those 4 teams in that division is the best division in football.
Well, that Hail Mary may have been the best thing that happened to the Bears because they got rid of the people that didn't know how to call plays.
Good point. Very good point. Or line up on a Hail Mary defense. But you're right. That could be a blessing in disguise. A lot of times things like this happen. You know, Washington is bringing back the Indian, but they're going to stay, I think, the Commanders. But just bringing that one player in, and it's amazing to me how it's changed everything. And in a lot of ways, you can make that analogy with the Florida Fighting Gators on Saturdays with DJ Lagway. It seems like the team really seems to respond with that quarterback.
Well, so having said that, which I've told you a million times, JC, about the quarterback position, if you take Josh Allen off of their team, what are they? If you take Pat Mahomes off the Chiefs, what are they? Yeah, you can go on and on and on.
And Andy Reid, let's be honest, he didn't win it in Philly. He's won it in Kansas City.
He did win at Philly. He went to multiple NFC championship games and Super Bowl.
But he didn't win the Super Bowl. In Kansas City, he won the Super Bowl, and he's about to win it for the third year unless Buffalo can stop him, because I don't think the NFC champion beats Kansas City. I do think the Buffalo Bills, and we'll talk about this, can beat the Chiefs. Absolutely, 100%. And I'm really pissed at 47brand.com for not having my Bills hat here by Friday when I paid for overnight delivery last week or last Monday. Those idiots. Maybe
the weather got them, JC.
But I love my
There's
game.
been some weather issues.
True. Very true.
Mark says Schottenheimer apparently the new head coach at Dallas. I don't think
What is that about? That can't happen. There's no way that's happening.
Yeah. All right, let's do this, JC. Let's go ahead and do our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. Speaking of our Peachland Dental golf, did you see where they suspended it because of high winds?
Yeah.
So
and darkness.
No, it had nothing to do with darkness. They suspended it. I was watching it. They suspended it in the middle of the round because the winds were blowing like 50 miles an hour.
Oh.
But I don't give a damn because the average score yesterday was like 4 or 5 over par.
Yeah.
They could not play that golf course, but that was the beauty of it. These damn rules officials, the wind's blowing too hard for these guys. They can't, the ball's rolling off the green. Well, just replace it and putt it when it ain't rolling. I mean, good Lord. Do you think they don't cancel a football game when the wind's blowing hard?
They sure don't. And they didn't cancel my tournament in the Bahamas last year when it was blowing at 45 miles an hour. And it felt like I was getting my tail kicked in the whole day. But your boy Ludwig.
Yeah, he's winning.
Yeah, he's 6 under. He's tied with Griffin, the American. He was +3.
Yesterday it was hard for everybody.
Yeah, it was really, oh boy, a lot of stuff. Hey, you know what? It's good to see these guys, have to fight for it once in a while instead of just pitch and putt and make, 30 birdies. Some people like watching that. I can't stand it. I turn it off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I like watching good score. I don't want to see putt golf, pitching golf. I want to see guys bow through the rough. And
JC, I am surprised that you have not scheduled a trip to go down to Palm Beach and watch live.
Yeah, right. Because I can tell you about that.
I know.
My mother.
I saw a thing about the ratings. The ratings are terrible. I don't know how it makes it. I really don't.
My mother knows more about the NFL championship weekend than I do about TFL.
And
she only knows
the golf league.
I don't even know what it's called.
It's Tigers League.
He just has to find something to do. Obviously, he can't play golf anymore, so he's looking for things to do. QB, what did you think about? And this is just a quick question, but what did you think about the 22 million that tuned into the national championship game, which is considered a very low number? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mentioned that yesterday. I think it's because there was no Southern ball clubs involved in it.
Do you think?
I know Ohio State and Notre Dame have people all around the world in the country, but the passion for Southern style football is totally different. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, what about
there was a lot going on Monday too now?
Yeah, the inauguration. The inauguration was on
it was MLK Day.
And
I do think I have no problems with the playoffs. I know a lot of people talk about it's too long, too many teams, all that stuff. I don't care. I mean, what better it's great when you can go on a weekend, go play golf, come home and watch a college football playoff game. But they need to make the championship game on a Saturday night.
Well, I can tell you this. After Michigan beat Ohio State, the Buckeyes would not have made the Final Four or the Final Two in the old systems.
Right.
And they were clearly, when it got down to the playoffs, the best team in America based on that roster and how they performed.
People forget the greatest product in sports is the National Football League.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I would.
Okay. We've talked about it multiple times. There are 7 and 9 teams that host first-round playoff games because they win their division. Right. It's not our fault that their division's weak, right?
Right.
And if they make a run and they're not one of the better teams, that's great. That's just the way it's set up. That's the way they're trying to set up, in my opinion, in college football.
Well, in college basketball, the team that usually gets hot at the end, except for last year, is the team that sometimes wins that tournament. We all knew UConn was far and away the best team, but many times you see a team get a spark in that tournament as a 5 seed or a 4 or 6, and they go all the way. So I believe that to be the case.
I just think people, for some reason, fans think that the playoffs should all be very highly competitive games, and that is never the case. It's hardly ever the case in the National Football League, right? Super Bowls are usually not very competitive.
Many times, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't, whatever. John's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Do you really think they can guarantee the Big Ten and SEC 4 teams each year? I don't know about all that. Is that?
Well, that's been discussed, and if they expand it to 16 teams, there is a possibility that something like that could be the case. Those are the conferences that are driving the revenues. It's clear. The championship games are going to be an interesting dynamic in this future playoff because there's only one college football championship conference game played in basically it's the SEC championship game that does anything. These other games, when you're paying $5 to get into these other games, there's not a high demand for them. So I don't know. I just think the SEC championship game, though, if you expand it to 4 teams getting into the playoffs, what does the meaning of the SEC championship game have? I don't know. That's the only question I have about it.
Mark says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, Fox Sports has picked up 6 live events this year. He won't be watching that circuit. I mean, who's going to watch that?
Well, that's the first time I've heard of real distribution for that rather minor league tour. And I do believe that. It's a minor league tour. I love my orange. Thank you, Wally Gator. I love my orange and blue Gator hat. This is the greatest logo, maybe one of the greatest logos in sports, other than the Oklahoma State logo, the Tulane logo, and maybe a few others. This guy here is one of the greatest. And for some reason, Jeremy Foley hired and overpaid for a New York marketing firm to come up with the Robo Gator that some people like, but Gators like me.
What is the Robo Gator?
The Robo Gator is that cartoon with the big mouth and all the jagged teeth all around, looking at you in an oval.
You're talking about just the Gator. You're talking about the Gator's head.
Yes,
I've never heard it called the Robo Gator.
He's a cartoon.
It's a gator head, JC.
But this is the gator. Look at that barrel chest. Look at those. Look at that mouth. That brings fear to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, when they had that did not bring any fear, that logo, to the Georgia Bulldogs.
It did in the 90s.
We didn't have that logo.
I know, that's right. So maybe this gator brought fear to the Florida State Seminoles and the Miami Hurricanes. We'll go with that. Okay.
I do like that logo, though. I have it on a couple of
he's like Malars. You not love that dude, man. Give it to me. Give it to me, Big Albert.
All right, JC, let's pick the championship games. What do you say?
Okay, let's pick them. There's 2 of them, and it's the championship Sunday is one. I actually like this day better than the Super Bowl, to tell you the truth, because you get 2 games, and most of the time, these games are actually better than the Super Bowl when we talk about a competitive nature of the game itself. And, last week's Buffalo-Baltimore game, I think brought us everything we expected to have. You've got 2 MVP quarterbacks playing. You got environment. You got just great teams. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. They are beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's the thing about the Chiefs, QB. The Chiefs usually have been winning these games by 1 score, and their offensive production is somewhere in the low 20s. Maybe they get 19 to 22 points on average per game. They will have to score 30 to beat Buffalo. I believe that. Weather will not be an issue, and I think Josh Allen's going to show us why he's the MVP over Lamar. But having said that, it is almost impossible to win at Arrowhead, it feels like. But I think this is the kind of team, and he's the kind of player, generational player, as they say, he can do it. So I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. And I'm saying money line, you don't even need a point. Just take the Buffalo Bills. I think they're getting 2. I don't care. Bet the odds. Take the money line. They're going to win outright.
Yeah, I like Buffalo, too. I think it's time for them to win this game just because the Chiefs, as you mentioned, have won so many close games in their last 20 to 30 games. Yeah. But I think whoever wins this game wins the Super Bowl.
I agree. Totally agree with that. The NFC – I used to feel the other way about that. But the NFC, Washington is fine. I mean, Jaden Daniels, unbelievable story. I don't think they're not beating the Bills or the Chiefs, and the Eagles, to me, have a lot of flaws. I think the Eagles play great defense, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is the Super Bowl winner. Not until he shows me, QB. Not until he shows me. And the concussion did affect him, I think. So, where's Brown been? Where's Brown been? He is reading books on the sideline. They're not getting him the ball as many times as they should be getting it to him or try to get to him. I thought Dallas Goedert's been great. Their offensive line is tremendous. Jalen Carter's an animal. I think Philadelphia and Buffalo give us the best Super Bowl. I do hope that Washington beats them, but I think it's the Eagles, and I would lay the points and take the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm kind of. How many points is it in this game?
6. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. And I usually don't lay 6.
You know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb just to be different. I think the Eagles are probably going to win the game, but I'm going to pull for the Redskins.
Well, yeah.
It's a great story.
I'd
love to see the Bills Skins in the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
I'll go for that.
That would be a rematch from one of the past Super Bowls that I think it was Mark Rippon or somebody. No, that was against Denver. There was a Super Bowl where Buffalo and Washington played, and I think the Redskins at the time blew them out. But that would be a cool rematch. Buffalo and Philly, though, I think gives you two fan bases that are just they're fanatics. And that's going to create environment. Even though we all know the Super Bowl is corporate entertainment and basically fans don't show, it's a very elite type of fan base or elite type of crowd that gets into those games. It's corporate entertainment. It's a reward for the players and their families to go to the game to celebrate the season, whether they make the game or not. So you once were generous enough to find tickets for me to go to the Super Bowl, and I got to go see the Patriots and the Rams play in the Superdome. And that was after 9/11, and that was tremendous. So we have another game now in the Superdome and in New Orleans, and hopefully everybody will be safe and they'll have the security that they need for the Super Bowl.
Electronics World, integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. Go check them out, Electronics World.
Jimmy, so you like Washington. You're rooting for Washington, but you think Philly will win, but you're taking the points.
Yeah, it could be a close game.
Oh, no doubt. It could very well be a close game. Big SEC basketball weekend, QB. I know they don't post lines the day before the game in many cases, but I think we've got, some pretty interesting games. But I love the home teams this weekend. I love Missouri to beat Ole Miss. I love Florida to beat Georgia. I think Texas will beat A&M. I think Vandy could give Kentucky a scare. And I think South Carolina will give Mississippi State a scare. I think Alabama will beat LSU. I think Auburn will definitely beat Tennessee. And I think Arkansas will handle Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised if you want to do a parlay, a 9-game parlay, take all the home teams on the money line. I almost hit a hockey parlay last night. I had 9 teams and I won 8 of them. Those damn Pittsburgh Penguins lost on the duck pond to Anaheim. That would have been a big one. But that's what you do this weekend in the SEC. Look at the home teams. I think there's clearly –
Yeah, the SEC basketball is crazy. I don't know if you from Wednesday night, the night the Gators played, between Georgia. So listen to this: Georgia, Ole Miss, and South Carolina led for 119 minutes and 14 seconds,
and all lost
of the 120 minutes of a game time combined. They all went 0-3.
And all lost.
Think about that.
I know it's basketball. This conference is incredible. It's incredible. They all want to talk about how the conference has fallen in football. Well, look at this basketball. Look at this.
How have we fallen? It's just a narrative that the people around the country want to use.
Well, QB, they're talking about for 2 years in a row, the Big Ten has won the championship, man. We now are the kings of college football. Paul Feinbaum gets up there and clucks and ducks about how the SEC has gone down behind the Big Ten. Okay, so you've got the last 2 national championships coming out of the Big Ten. It's funny that the last 2 national champions that have come out of the Big Ten are the only 2 teams that come out of the Big Ten, and they're the only 2 teams that ever win anything in Michigan and Penn State. Ohio State. Who the hell else in that conference wins anything? Who ever wins in football in that conference if their name isn't OHIO, or Michigan? Who is it? It's nobody. It's always one of those 2. And usually it's not even one of those 2, but it has been for the last 2 years. You have to tip your cap.
Gene must have missed it. He says if the Redskins win, he hopes I put on the old helmet. I wore the Redskin helmet the other day on the program.
A little tight on that head of yours, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the inner parts of it, I mean, usually your helmet, you got some sweat going, so they just slip on easily. When you're not sweaty,
those helmets
are nowhere near made the way they are today.
That helmet wouldn't even be certified for the game today, QB. That's really cool that you have them.
Well, no, you have to recondition them every year, JC, to be certified. So,
You
and
know
if anybody needs that done, I take care of that. By the way,
you do, and you're very good at it. You're very good
Yes.
at it. But do you know you could have an incredible garage sale one day if you really wanted to?
I
Clean,
know.
do some spring cleaning. QB, let the past go away a little bit, and just get rid of some crap. And boy, you'd be amazed at how much money you can pull in for all that great gear for the Hall of Famer. Just think about it. Do you ever think about it?
I have not, because it sounds like a lot of work. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. This day in 2010, the AFC and the NFC Championship. Lucas Oil Stadium, the Colts beat the Jets. The Jets were in the AFC Championship game.
That was the year they beat the Chargers. And
who was the quarterback? Vinny Testaverde?
It was Mark. I think it was Mark Sanchez. I think it was and
30 to 17. So it wasn't even close. And then at the Louisiana Superdome. Now this one was close. This was controversial. Saints beat the Vikings 31-28.
Oh,
No. It was the week before. Wasn't that the year they had that phantom pass interference call on the wheel route?
No, that was against the Rams.
Right, but wasn't that the same year?
Oh,
for them to beat the Rams?
No, it wasn't the same year because the Rams beat the Saints on that phantom call.
Okay.
This was
the year the Saints won. Okay.
This was the year the Saints beat the Vikings, and Brett Favre was how he walked off that field was a miracle. Remember how hard he was getting hit and how Minnesota played. They had Brett Favre quarterbacking against the Saints that year, and then the Saints won the game, and then of course they go down to beat the Colts in the Super Bowl.
All right. Real quick before we get out of here, Braun wants to know, QB, did it feel weird looking at the Redskins spear helmet when you were there with Spurrier? Did it feel like, nah? I thought it was a cool helmet, actually.
Yeah, that was old school, man. And then there was one that had a circle with a red R in it. Remember that? The yellow helmets that Washington had with the red R in the circle? That was like Sonny Jurgensen or something. Yeah, that was your boy, Sonny.
All right, our man TJ says on the Titan MR text line, think of me, fellas. I'm an exterminator as a job, and I'm in the middle of a definite Children of the Corn type situation and listening to the show and trying not to die. Orlando gets weird in places.
Well,
hang in there. Maybe just leave the job there, TJ.
TJ, pull over, brother. Sit in the parking lot, and we'll try to keep you going through it till at least 9 o'clock.
All right, JC. Yeah, we're going to talk Jags and NFL with news about it. We're just rambling.
Well, that's what you do on podcasts. And Frangie will also give you some good Florida content. He follows his Gators. He loves his Gators. So get on there and ask him some questions while you have him. He's not on all the time, but he's
a very busy man.
He's one of the best. So good to see you guys. Have a great weekend. It's championship weekend. Go Gators. Beat the hell out of Georgia, and we'll see you Monday.
That's JC. Join us on the International Diamond Center. No, he's on the Titan MRI hotline.
Titan MRI, by the way. Nicole, the technician, and Joe Calorio, my main man. Love Titan MRI. You must go to Titan MRI for all your MRI needs. It is the best MRI outfit in North Central Florida, maybe in the state. And I'm telling you, they make it easy and comfortable for you. They are true professionals, and I really do love me some Titan MRI. In fact, I might get me a Titan MRI shirt, hat, something like that.
You should do that.
Start wearing some gear.
All right. That's JC. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by the voice of the Jaguars, Frank Frange. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG and A Wealth Management, Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go.
We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios, Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, and never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man, Frank Frange, the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. What's up, Frank?
Cold, Shane. That's what's up. You were telling me during the break you're playing golf. It's way too cold for golf.
Well, it's going to get up to 50, so it'll be a beautiful day out on the link. Maybe there won't be many people out there. Let's put it that way. We can play fast.
Okay, good to see you. How's everything in Gainesville?
Everything's good. We're winning basketball games. We'll talk about that with you. First, let's talk Jaguars. I guess Ben Johnson turned it down. Liam Cohen turned it down. I wake up this morning. Liam Cohen's now the head coach. You like the hire?
I do like the hire, and that's sort of what happened. They had some interest in Ben Johnson. I don't know that they were going to offer him the job, but they certainly had interest in him. He was probably position A from everything you read. I like Liam Cohen. I said 3.5 weeks ago, when Doug Peterson was fired, that I thought it should be an offensive guy, and that Shane, I thought it would be one of those two guys. They're young, they're forward thinking, they connect with quarterbacks. And I really like Liam Cohen. I like what he brings. I like the fact that he's a quarterback-centric guy. He's an offensive guy. He's a guy that connects with quarterback. They really improved they were the worst rushing team in the league, the Bucs were the year before, and they were a top 5 rushing team and a top 5 passing team last year, the only team in the league that was both. So I think he's good. And look, you never know how a young guy's going to do as a head coach, building a culture and running a locker room, and there's way more to it than calling plays, but I think he's going to be pretty good. I like what I think they've got.
Is he going to call the plays, or is he going to be one of these coaches? I get the job, so now I'm going to let somebody else do it.
I don't know. He hadn't said that yet, but I would imagine he's going to call them. I mean, most of these young guys today, Matt LaFleur and Zach Taylor and McVay, these young guys that get jobs because they're play callers, they call the plays. So in the NFL, that's sort of the way it's gone. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
Text here on the Titan MR text line from James. He says, Frank, is there any truth to Boselli possibly being in the front office?
I think yes. I think there is a lot of truth to that. He was very involved, principally involved in this search. I think that Jonathan Jones from CBS broke that yesterday afternoon, that Tony's helping out. And I think he would make all the sense in the world. And I don't think anything's done yet. I don't even know if he and Schott have sat down and talked about that. But yes, I would be very surprised. I would personally be surprised. Of course, I've been calling for it, Shane, forever. So, but I'd be surprised if when this thing is all over, if Tony doesn't have an important job in that front office, possibly executive vice president. Yeah, I can tell you this: he was very instrumental in getting Liam Cohen to reconsider and to take this job. He was very involved. There was a team of people involved, Shot among them as well. But Tony was certainly involved in that, and I think he's going to be involved moving forward.
Where do the Jags stand with the whole renovating the stadium, having to play somewhere else? Where do they stand with that?
They've agreed to the deal. It's a $1.5 billion deal. They're going to play business as usual this year, Shane. 25 season. The 26 season, they're going to play in the stadium, but it's going to be kind of half a stadium. It'll seat about 40,000 because they'll be renovating some areas while they play the season. And then in 27, they move. They either go to Gainesville, they go to Orlando, they'll play some games in London. But in 2027, they won't have a home stadium. And then the new one will be ready in 2028. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be state of the art. It's going to be the likes of which you've never seen. It really is pretty amazing. So business as usual this year, playing sort of half a stadium in 26, get displaced and play your home games either in Gainesville or Orlando in 27, and then maybe a game or two in London, but certainly Gainesville, Orlando for the most part. And then in 28, they'll be in their new stadium.
What's your gut tell you where they're going to play? I just don't know from an NFL standpoint, the locker rooms, the NFL is so, you got to have a certain size locker room. You got to have a certain amount of space on the sidelines. I just don't know if the Swamp can handle that.
You hit it. I think they're going to land in Orlando for those reasons. I think they're going to land in Orlando for the two things you said are it. Number one, they want to get those trucks along the sideline, that camera truck, which you can't do in Gainesville. And the visiting locker room would have to be. Now, listen, they're talking to both entities, so I don't think any decision's been made. I think the Jags are talking to the Florida people and to the Orlando people, and I think the Jags are willing to put significant dollars into wherever they go. I can tell you this, both entities want it. That I can tell you for a fact. And I think they're willing to put significant dollars into Gainesville, rebuilding the visiting locker room, things you can't address with money. But you can't address the sight line. You can't address that truck area. So I don't know where it's going to land. They have not announced it. But if you're asking me to guess, I would guess Orlando. They already have the Pro Bowl stuff there. It's already an NFL kind of ready stadium. Personally, I like the Swamp way more than I like Orlando. I like Gainesville way more than I like Orlando. I like the Swamp way more than I like Camping World Stadium. But I think they're going to wind up in Orlando.
Yeah, I have to agree with all of that. All right, let's talk about the four teams that are playing this weekend to go to the Super Bowl. Who does Frank Frangie like?
Until you got to cut the head off the snake, Shane. Until somebody beats the Chiefs, it's hard to see them get beat. They know how to win. They win when they're the best offensive team. They win when they're tough and hard-nosed defensively. They know how to win. It's going to be interesting because the Bills are pretty good. I think that both games, I think, have the same storyline. The visiting team wants to try and get it into a track meet. Kansas City, even though they've got Mahomes and Kelsey, they've been winning with defense, and they've been winning that 24-17 game. The Bills would like to get that thing in the 30s and make it a track meet because they can really score. They've had a great year offensively. So if they can, and I think the same thing in the NFC. I think Jaden Daniels is good, man. But they're not, but the Eagles are built like those old Steeler teams. They don't throw it all that well, but they're a great running team and they're physical, and even their quarterback's a good runner. And that's how they're built. I think both the Eagles and the Chiefs, Shane, would like to win a 24-17 game. I think both the Commanders and the Bills would like to get this thing into a track meet. Let's get in the 30s, first team to 35 wins. But it's hard not to think it's going to be Kansas City and Philadelphia, at least for me right now.
Who would be your MVP of the National Football League this year?
Lamar Jackson. He had an unbelievable year.
He did.
His numbers are ridiculous. I think he changes the game. Look, Josh Allen's had a great year. Saquon Barkley's had a great year. And they're both going to get votes, and I think it'll be a close vote. But I think Lamar Jackson, this should be Lamar Jackson's third MVP. At the end of the day, I'd be surprised if he did. He's really a good player, man. He is a really good player. So I think it's going to be Lamar.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. George on a Titan MR text line wants to know, Frank, who do you think will be the Cowboys head coach?
I think Kellen Moore. Now look, my favorite Brian Schottenheimer story is when Danny Werfel was going to be the quarterback in '96 and Eric Kresser transferred to Marshall. Remember that?
Yeah.
Marshall? And I asked the ball coach, I said, Steve, what are you going to do if Werfel gets hurt? He goes, Schotty's ready to go play. He's ready. Schotty's ready to go play. So Brian Schottenheimer to me will always be Schotty's ready to go play. But they like him. I think Jerry Jones likes him. He's been there. So I think he's got a real chance at this. If the Eagles win, Shane, and I think they're going to, there's another week that you can't bring in Kellen Moore. So I still think it's going to be Kellen Moore, but I think Brian Schottenheimer's really in it. I do.
Yeah. Switching gears, Gator basketball. Boy, they're off to a tremendous start. Team has got players everywhere. They didn't play well the other night, but they found a way to win the game somehow. Just your thoughts, what you've seen from them this year.
How did they win that game?
No
business winning that
Well, they
game.
had South Carolina had a bunch of Frank Frangies trying to break the press. I've never seen a college basketball team not be able to handle the basketball.
It's the worst press breaking of all time. You're exactly right. But I'm thinking that game ended. I'm thinking, how'd they win the game? Here's what I think of Gator basketball. I think they're really good. But I think they're a little bit like the 14 team, Shane. Patrick Young and I had this conversation. There's no lottery picks on this team. I don't know that there's an NBA player on this team. Maybe Condon, if he continues to develop, can be one of those big guys off the bench they have now in the NBA. I think Clayton probably can get into the G League and maybe get one of those two-way contracts. But this isn't a team of NBA guys. What makes them so good is those three guards are old. They're 23. Their bodies are built. They're physical. Martin could be a football player. And I think all three of those guys are really good college players. And they're generally going up against a guard that's 19 years old or 18 years old. So it really helps that those older physical guards. And Florida's interior guys rebound and hustle. Now, I didn't think Florida had any energy the other night. I thought Richard played with some energy, but I thought most of them didn't. And I worry because as good as Florida's big guys are at defending and rebounding and altering, they don't finish. The big guys don't finish great around the basket, Shane. So that worries me. But I love the team, man. They're 17-2. It's hard to be 17-2. I think in the SEC this year they're 4-2. Get to that 10th win. Get to that 10th win, man. I think that's the. But I love watching. In fact, I'm coming down Saturday to watch them play Georgia. So I'm looking forward to that. But they're fun to watch. They're tough. They don't have NBA type skills, so they got to play with energy every night. And when they don't, it's going to look like it did against South Carolina. And when they do, it's going to look like it did against Tennessee. So a physical team that has to play with some energy, and they're fun to watch.
You've been covering the Gators and following them for a long, long time. It's amazing how difficult the basketball league is now, week in and week out. Did you ever imagine it being like this?
Yeah, we had this talk on my show. No, I didn't. We had this talk on my show. Shane, the best college basketball conference I can ever remember, and you probably watched it when you were in high school, but I wasn't, was that Big East in the 80s when they had Villanova and St. John's and Georgetown and Providence and Seton Hall and UConn. And, man, they were all good. In 1988, three of those teams went to the Final Four, three of the four. Do you remember? I don't know. Can you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Big East and with Chris Mullen and Carnesecca and John Thompson and Boeheim. And I mean, that teams were so good. I thought we'd never see a college basketball conference like that. Well, this one might be better. It's amazing how good this league is. I mean, Tennessee, Alabama, and Auburn, and Kentucky, and Florida are Final Four teams. That's Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, and Auburn are legitimate Final Four teams. They're not all getting there. When have you seen a conference with 5 teams that you look at and say, "Yep, got Final Four written all over them"? So it's a great league. Just get to 10 wins, man. Just get to 10-8. If you get to 12-6, you're going to be a 2 or 3 seed. If you get to 10-8, you're still probably a 4 or 5 seed, and that's what they need to do.
All right, switching gears to Gator football. Chris in Mayaca on the Titanamar text line says, Frank, do you think Gator football can exceed expectations this year and break into the playoffs, or at least being the conversation? Vegas has the win total at 6.5 this year.
I think the total's low. 4.5 last year was very low. Chris, yes, I think they can. A couple things concern me. It's another brutal schedule. I know a lot of those quarterbacks are gone. I wish Garrett Nussmeier had come out like the rest of them did.
Yeah.
But there's he's a really good player. But I think it's a hard schedule. It is no matter how you look at it. Say what you want about FSU, they're going to be much improved. Miami is always going to be now it's going to be a top 10, 20 team. And then you got the league schedule, which is really hard. So it's a really hard schedule. And can you get to the playoffs? We've learned now 3 losses, you're not in. So can you get to 10 wins? I don't know if they can get to 10 wins. But I like their team. I like what Billy Napier's done. I think he's built a good roster. I think you win in football with quarterback play and defensive line. I've always said that, Shane. You and I've had that talk 1,000 times. They were great when you were there because they had you playing quarterback, and you had all those defensive, the Mark Murrays and the Huey Richardsons and Culpepper and all those guys. It was a really good. Same thing when Danny won. Same thing when Rex won. Same thing when Urban's guys won. Is if you're good at quarterback and defensive line, you're pretty good. I hated, of all the guys that left, I hated that Pyburn and Searcy left. Those are the two. If you told me right now they had the same roster they had plus Pybert and Cersei, I would think that's a top 10 team. Lagway's got to take the next step. I hope he can. I don't love the offense. Shane, you and I've had that talk. I wish the offense had a little more rhythm to it. I don't think Billy Napier's bringing in an offensive guy. I think he's going to call the plays. I still think there's a chance they may bring in a defensive guy. But I like their team. I like their roster. It's young. I think he's done a really good job of building that into a legit SEC roster. And once you have that, you have a chance. And if you have quarterback play, you have a chance.
Yeah. Do you think this year, Billy didn't get an extension, but obviously he's the coach for next year. But do you think how important, or is there a win total that you think he needs to get to? I say, with DJ, with the player that he can be, I feel like in November, early November, we need to be in the talk of at least making the playoffs.
I will tell you this. Number one, do I think there's a number to keep his job? Oh, I don't know. 8 or 9 wins, he's fine. 4 or 5 wins, he's fired. That's 7, who knows? We'll see. Not all that different than last year. It's how the games come about, how you win and lose. But back to your point, I agree with you, Shane. I think the question is, can DJ take the next step? Sometimes quarterbacks from the first year to the second year take that gigantic leap. Chris Leak took a gigantic leap. I've seen other quarterbacks that from year 1 to year 2 are a totally different guy. If he can take that leap, you see, there's so much about DJ Lagway. I don't know. In today's football, that RPO game and quarterback running game is so important. Watch those 4 teams in the NFL Sunday. All those quarterbacks, that RPO game is so important. DJ Lagway, because he was playing with that device on his leg and he right, whatever it was, he never ran. Once he came back and played, he was a drop back quarterback. Well, I think for him to be effective, he's got to be an RPO guy. And so if he can take the next step as a passer, you've said it many times, it's great that you hit all the deep balls, and I'm glad they throw deep balls now, but you got to be able to hit that intermediate game. Can DJ Lagway be the guy that you look up one day and he's 24 for 32 for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns? That's what I don't know. If he can be that guy, Florida can be in the playoffs. I think that's the whole key. I really do.
Sir, about concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by. A few more minutes with Frank Frange, the voice of the Jags, right here. Sheila on the Titan Mar text line wants to know, Frank, what is your favorite venue to call a game at in the NFL?
Favorite venue, the best press boxes, Sheila, are New England, MetLife in New York. They're both great. Tennessee. Those are probably my 3 favorite press boxes. As far as just the enormity of the stadium, Jerry's World's its own world. SoFi in Los Angeles is incredible. Now, the broadcast booths aren't great because they got us tucked away in the corner. But as far as the best place to have a great look, great heritage, great team, probably New England. It is a great setup. You're at the 50-yard line. And you know what else I like too, Sheila? I like college stadiums that or pro stadiums feel like college stadiums that are not downtown. Kansas City, Buffalo, New England, they're not down. All these other stadiums are right downtown and all the hotels are around it. And you stay at the hotel and walk across the street to the stadium. And it's great, but they're all the same. I like the ones, Kansas City and Buffalo feel like I'm at a college stadium. It feels like I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, or at the Grove. I feel like, and they have that feel to it. So probably those more than any other.
Mine's Green Bay.
I've never been.
You've never been to Lambeau Field?
Of the 32, it's the only.
I know that.
Because when we played up there in 20, it was the COVID year. And so we did everything remotely. Remember that year where we did all the games remotely?
Yeah.
Games. So Lambeau's the only place I've never been to. Can you believe that? 11 years doing this, and I've still never been to Lambeau.
You will fall in love with it. You're talking about in a college town. It's like driving through Jacksonville Golf and Country Club, and then there's a stadium where the golf course clubhouse is, and everybody tailgates. But just the history, the tradition, it's the coolest stadium, and their fans are awesome.
Everybody said I would love it. I will one day, but I mean the way the rotation fell. The year we played up there, it was a COVID year, and we did it by way of remote.
Before I let you go, Frank, I want you to talk about your walk-off charities. Are you having your high school tournament that you normally do?
We are. We start February 3rd, Shane. Thank you for asking about it. Our high school tournament, we have 16 baseball teams. And the second week, we now have 16 softball teams. So we have 32. Yeah, it's a really big deal, and we're really proud of it at the Bregan Baseball Complex. I'm proud of walk-off. In fact, we have a ribbon cutting with the mayor today at a different park that's coming up in about an hour or so. with the mayor and the members of the city council. Mark Lamping's going to be there from the Jags. I'm proud of it, Shane. We've had it since, because you're a big part of it, because you've helped outfit us in many ways and been emotional support as well. We've put over 10,000 kids through now, 10,500. We're having inner city kids. Baseball just is dead in the inner city, that. And we've been able to revive it a little bit, which is exciting for us. And so this year we'll have about 65 teams. Our clinics will have about 1,000 kids plus the teams. So we're real proud. We're real proud of where it's gone, and it's helping kids in the inner city play baseball, which is my passion. So thank you for asking about it. And yeah, the high school tournament's February 3rd, and I hope it's warmer than this. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about that is, like you said, all the inner city kids, but you've had like some travel teams that I don't know if they started when they were young, but y'all send them off to these tournaments.
Yeah.
And who knows how they're going to play, but they play pretty well against some of these stout travel teams, right?
Thank you for asking that, Shane. Yeah, so we started a travel team with all inner city kids, all African-American players, which you never see. And they came up through our system. And the first year, Shane, we did it 2 years ago, they were excited. And we went and played in a tournament in Fort Myers. And these kids were so jacked up because they've never had the travel and the being able to stay where they stay. And the scouts are out there. And the first game, the top three in the order were Florida commit, LSU commit, Miami commit. That's who our guys faced, all right? And so we got our doors blown off, but they learned how to play, and then they won a few games. Last year, won a tournament, and actually played pretty well last year. Last year, I think they were like 25-19, which for kids who've never done this before. Shane, we have 5 kids on scholarship now that have come through that program, mostly at historically Black schools, but we're really proud of that. And yeah, so the travel team, sometimes we get our doors blown off. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes they hang around. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun watching those kids develop and see how appreciative they are that they get to do something all these other kids have always gotten to do. That's probably the most rewarding part. It really is.
That's good stuff. Appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can listen to the Frank Frange Show.
Yeah. Just we're on 4 to 6 every afternoon, 1010xl.com, wherever you are. Turn it on. We'll be talking all about Liam Cohen today. I don't know what we know about him, but everything we know about him, we'll be talking about that. And we talk, as you know, we talk a lot of Jags and a lot of Gators. So if you care about either one of those two teams, give us a listen at 4 o'clock every afternoon.
Thanks for your time, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Always great to catch up. Hey, it's too cold for golf. You got to listen to me on this. It's too cold.
Got to bundle up today. Got to go compete, Frank. Got to go compete.
Have fun, bro. Thanks, man.
All right. That's Frank Frange, the voice of the Jaguars. Again, you can listen to his show over in Jacksonville, the Frank Frange Show, 4 to 6. Florida Crackers, the brand for original Floridians. Great food and Southern hospitality at the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida, floridacracker.com. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Have a great weekend. We'll recap everything on Monday. Gators play the Dogs tomorrow. I believe it's a 3:30 tip. And we'll talk about it on Monday. See y'all then. Take care.